So some time ago, or yesterday, or a week ago, I released a video taking a look at the top 20 highest rated movies based on Marvel Comics publications. I promised in that video that I would make one without MCU movies because the Marvel film market has been dominated by MCU movies, and generally the MCU movies are some of the highest rated Marvel movies to date. As promised, here are the top 20 highest rated non-MCU movies based on Marvel Comics publications. Naturally, I'll start from lowest to highest, and I won't be going in depth on movies that I've already talked about, and will focus on movies we haven't seen. XMen Apocalypse was released back in 2016 to generally mixed reviews and symbolizes the X-Men franchise really well, as it is very hit or miss. I do however have fond memories of the X-Men movies. Everything that isn't the MCU or the Spider-Man movies seems to be forgotten for some reason. Many non-MCU movies rival MCU movies in my opinion. It has a total rating of 6.0. The general consensus is that The Amazing SpiderMan II is a worse movie than SpiderMan 3, but according to reviews, not so much. There are going to be major spoilers here, so now you have been warned. Andrew Garfield was never fully appreciated as Spider-Man, but when he was rumored to come back in No Way Home, which was proven to be correct, everyone pretended that back when he was Spider-Man in 2012, they didn't give him a lot of flack for it. I find it very concerning that people can switch opinions with the flick of a button. Andrew Garfield is now a beloved Spider-Man, and people hated on him have since backtracked and need to be called out. Amazing Spidey has a rating of 6.03, along with 2017's Kingsman: The Golden Circle. The Kingsman movies are based on the Kingsman comic book series, which debuted in 2012 and was released through Marvel Comics imprint Icon Comics. The movie has an all-star cast with the names such as Pedro Pascal, Halle Berry, Elton John for some reason, Colin Firth, Mark Strong, Julianne Moore, Jeff Bridges, Samuel L. Jackson, and Taron Egerton. X-Men: The Last Stand is the third X-Men movie in the original trilogy. Yeah, it isn't just Star Wars that has an original trilogy. The movie stars Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, Patrick Stewart as Professor X, Ian McKellen as Magneto, Famke Janssen as Jean Grey, Elliot Page as Kitty Pryde, James Marsden as Cyclops, Halle Berry as Storm, and Rebecca Romijn, who shall never be forgotten with her brilliant and superior portrayal as the mutant Mystique. It is joined by another Kingsman movie, this time the 2021 prequel movie, The Kingsman. They have a rating of 6.13. Blade 2 was directed by Guillermo del Toro and written by David S. Goyer with Wesley Snipes as the lead role. Blade is based on the fictional comic book character of the same name, which was created by Marv Wolfman and Gene Colan. It has a rating of 6.43. Back in the good old days, where companies didn't have an obsession with shared universes and cameos, the original Blade was released. In 1998, Marvel blessed us with a black super, well, I don't really know if he's a superhero to be honest, or if he's a villain or an anti-hero, but surprisingly, all the way back in 1998 we got a black man in a huge starring role. The 90s is of course home to many black-led sitcom shows like The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Sister Sister, Moesha, and more. Blade has a rating of 57%, 78%, a 7.1 out of 10 for a total of 6.86. From Wesley Snipes to Will Smith in 2012, Men in Black 3, which stars Tommy Lee Jones and Josh Brolin, and of course Will Smith, but my recollection has now appeared in at least 3 different comic book movies, all by Marvel, though MIB is owned by Sony. Josh Brolin of course played Thanos during the Infinity Saga, Cable in Deadpool 2, and Agent K in MIB. Men in Black is based on the Men in Black comic book by Lowell Cunningham, which was originally published by Airsteel Comics. Airsteel Comics would later be bought out by Malibu Comics, which in itself was bought out by Marvel Comics. It has a score of 6.867. The second installment in the Wolverine trilogy, The Wolverine, must have appealed to the Asian market with all the Asian or Asian heritage actors. It grossed $40 million in the Chinese market, becoming the largest foreign market for the movie, doubling the numbers that Russia did in second place. It was directed by James Mangold, starring Japanese actors and martial artist Ryuki Sanada, Tao Okamoto, and Rila Fukushima. It is in no way criticism for the movie, as it represents an underrepresented ethnicity or race when it comes to Hollywood films. The Wolverine has a rating of 6.967. I'm surprised that Venom: Let There Be Carnage is so high up on the list. I thought that the first Venom movie was thought of as being better than Let There Be Carnage, but apparently that isn't the case. The first Venom movie doesn't even crack the top 20. Let There Be Carnage has a rating of 7.1. A franchise that never lived up to its potential, The Amazing SpiderMan II was released to generally favorable reviews, but the sequel soon killed all hype of creating a larger universe. One thing the Amazing movies have going for it is that they probably have the 2 best Spider-Man suits ever seen on screen. And there is another spoiler, so be warned. My favorite live-action Spider-Man has always been Tobey Maguire, but when No Way Home released, I had a sudden urge to call Andrew Garfield Spider-Man the best adaptation of the character. He truly reminded me of the Spider-Man of old, meaning cartoons. But with that said, my favorite is still Tobey Maguire, who in my opinion has the best Spider-Man movies to date. But I can admit that Andrew Garfield probably is Spider-Man incarnate. The Amazing Spider-Man has a rating of 7.267. The Sam Raimi trilogy is the best Marvel has ever produced. Back when Sony were capable of making a Spider-Man movie, Spider-Man was released to good reviews. Sadly, it has been tainted by MCU stans who now want to take away from its achievements for no reason whatsoever. Now, I know exactly what it is, to be honest. Apparently, in the world we live in, we can only like one Spider-Man trilogy at a time. No Way Home came out, and even if they loved Maguire in that movie, they didn't show the same love for Sam Raimi's trilogy because one can only like one Spider-Man franchise at a time. It's the same with the Batman franchises, meaning MCU trilogy good, anything else bad. And then there are the Amazing Spider-Man fans who don't bother anyone and are probably the best among the lot. Spider-Man has a rating of 90%, 67% for some reason, and 7.4 out of 10 for a total score of 7.7. Not for the faint of heart, KickAss takes the comic adaptation genre to new levels of visual style, bloody violence, and gleeful profanity. That is how the critical response on Wikipedia reads. The movie made just south of $100 million and is directed by Matthew Vaughn, who seems to really enjoy making movie adaptations of comics. I mean, he has either directed, produced, or written Stardust, KickAss 1 and 2, X-Men First Class, Days of Future Past, the Kingsman trilogy, and Fantastic Four in 2015, were all based on comic books or graphic novels. 2010's KickAss has a rating of 7.767. Speaking of Matthew Vaughn, in 2014 he directed, wrote and produced Kingsman: The Secret Service. As I've already talked in length about Kingsman and Matthew Vaughn, I'm just going to skip to the rating. Kingsman: The Secret Service has a total score of 7.867. From here on out, every movie has previously been featured, so I won't be talking in length about them. X-Men was released in 2000, becoming one of the first theatrical Marvel movies. The movie was distributed by 20th Century Fox, making $296 million at the box office on a $75 million budget. Before super producer Kevin Feige, there was a super producer Lawrence Schuler Donner, the wife of the late Richard Donner, whose company had produced films that have grossed over $5.5 billion, mainly due to the X-Men franchise. I just realized that I did in fact not hurry over these. X-Men has a rating of 82% critic score, 83% audience score, and a 7.3 IMDb rating, for a total of 7.93. Surprisingly, there are only 8 non-MCU movies that have a combined rating over 8, which is very surprising to me, as there are many great non-MCU movies. Men in Black released in 1997 with a ratings of 92%, 79%, 7.3 on IMDb for a total of 8.13. XMen II, XMen United released in 2003 and joins MIB at the 7th spot with a rating of 85%, 85% and 7.4. 2018's Deadpool 2 was directed by David Leitch and became the highest grossing R-rated movie at the time of release. It has a rating of 84, 85 and 7.7 for a total of 8.2. In 2004, the greatest Spider-Man movie of all time was released. Spider-Man II was directed by Sam Raimi, who recently worked on Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. The movie stars Tobey Maguire, Kirsten Dunst, James Franco, Alfred Molina, and J.K. Simmons. Spider-Man II has a rating of 93%, 82% and 7.4% for a total of 8.3. X-Men First Class is still the reigning champion of X-Men movies in my opinion, and I haven't seen Logan by the way. It was planned as a reboot of the X-Men franchise and it obviously had a completely new cast, but only just now, or in the last video, I found out that there was a retcon, but with Days of Future Past put it all back together, and now all X-Men movies are connected. X-Men First Class has a rating of 86%, 87%, 7.7 for a total score of 8.33, and I would highly recommend this movie. Before there was Joker and before there was Deadpool 2, 2016's Deadpool was the highest grossing R-rated movie of all time, taking the top spot from Matrix Reloaded by 40 million. Deadpool 2 has great ratings across the board with 85%, 90% and 8.0 for a total of 8.5. X-Men Days of Future Past remains the best mainline X-Men movie despite movies like XMen Apocalypse and Dark Phoenix releasing after. Days of Future Past is directed by Bryan Singer and is based on the late Stan Lee and the late Jack Kirby's X-Men team from Marvel Comics. Days of Future Past has incredible ratings of 90%, 91% and 8.0 for a total of 8.7. In a future where mutants are nearly extinct, an elderly and weary Logan leads a quiet life. But when Lorna, a mutant child, played by Daphne Keane, pursued by a scientist, comes to him for help, he must get her to safety. Alright, I'm gonna stop with the voice. The movie is set in 2029, where genetically modified plants have been designed to reduce mutant powers and the X-Men have disbanded. I haven't actually seen Logan, but I'm probably going to have to consider it, as it is the best non-MCU movie, and the X-Men, along with the Fantastic Four, are my favorite Marvel superhero teams. Logan has a similar rating to Days of Future Past, but edges it out with a total rating of 8.83. The individual ratings for Logan read as followed: 94% critic score, 90% audience score, and on IMDb it has a score of 8.1, making it the best non-MCU movie to date. I want to thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave it a like, and if you want more lists like these, please subscribe to my channel to never miss a video.